Hi there, I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I offer this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. And it's titled Laughter, Silence, and Solitude Balance and the Paradoxes of Life. And I'm going to begin actually with somebody else's words, actually, a little extract from the book Creation Spirituality Liberating Gifts for the Peoples of the Earth by Matthew Fox. And Matthew writes, I sense that the cosmos is not only full of surprises, but also full of jokes. Do all creatures play the role, unwittingly of course, of cosmic comics? Are we here to amuse one another as well as the gods and the goddesses, the visible and the invisible? Do the angels laugh at us just as we laugh at them? If life becomes death and death becomes life, and darkness turns into light and light into unbelievable darkness, are there any limits to the amount of jesting that goes on in the universe or the number of surprises that stun us? To attempt to live without humour, without awareness of paradox and all around us and within us, without the ability to laugh even and especially at ourselves, is to contradict the universe itself. Too much sobriety violates the laws of nature. What Eckhart calls unselfish consciousness is often expressed in our ability to let go with cosmic laughter. It is a necessary dimension to common survival and therefore to our ethics. Eric Jansch writes that openness to novelty is part of an evolving consciousness. One person I know who dedicated his life to naming the paradoxes of existence was Ken Fate. He called himself a spiritual fool. He challenged persons to attempt to listen to the sounds of clouds bumping, or a car clearing its throat, or grass growing, or a leaf changing colour. And one of his favourite acts was to liberate ice cubes. Have you ever tried? Did you ever liberate an ice cube? An ice cube, after all, is water that's kept in prison to serve humans' needs by cooling their drinks and soothing their headaches. Well, I sometimes ransom bags of ice cubes from gas stations, take them to nearby ponds and let them go so that they can return to their water brothers and sisters. Is Ken Fate being foolish or wise? And what is he bringing out of us by his wisdom or foolishness or both? I believe the universe holds the answer. What do you think, eh? Does the universe hold it? Do we hold the answer? Is he a fool or wise? The holy fool, they are amongst us and within us, actually. Now, personally, I've never tried to liberate ice cubes, but I might give it a go, you know. I might just give it a go. Anyway, here are some of my thoughts. I was out visiting the other day, and as I returned home, I popped through Altrincham and bumped into a couple of people that I've got to know as I wander out and about, the people you meet on the streets. The first person I bumped into was somebody I primarily know from the dog park, from the park where the dogs go, sorry. It's not a dog park especially. And I see this man everywhere. He is a delightful Canadian man who has done so many fascinating and interesting things in his life. I keep learning more and more about him. And he now lives in Altrincham and has been a delight getting to know him, actually, and his wife, and his recently his nephew, and his two Jack Russell dogs, who are certainly characters. Anyway, the other day as I was returning from a visit, we talked for a while, as we always do. And then I moved on and headed for home. As I did, I bumped into one of my neighbours who I talk with often on the street and often in Cafe Nero. There's a lovely family. He was talking to me, he was asking me questions about my work and the stresses and the strains. I've been a lot of deaths recently. I've just been on a funeral visit actually. He listened to me talk and then he asked me about what I do to take care of myself. And specifically asked me if I meditated, which of course I do in different ways actually. And we had a conversation about all the different practices that we've both engaged with over the years. I spoke about my current practices, which are different at different times in the day. And he did too. And we talked and we shared and we laughed about the times when we've both got overly serious about the practices we've got into, got really deadly serious, which is not good really. And we were laughing about this. And as we were laughing, I thought to myself, actually, sometimes this is the best form of medicine, the best form of meditation or medication, actually. The best form of spiritual practice, that of laughter. Humour literally is medicine, actually. Or at least it kind of was originally. It was a sign of health, anyway. So, yeah, they say that laughter is the best medicine. Well, maybe it is, but it certainly helps. It's a sign you're in good health anyway, if nothing else. Anyway, a little later on that day, I was feeling guilty because Molly hadn't been out much. So I took her out to the park. It was a bit wet, so she'd not been out much for a couple of days. We'd had a wonderful month, but the last couple of days had been, a bit wet. But she really needed to get out. So we went off and we met a friend and their dog Ronnie while we were in the park. The dogs had a ball as we talked about serious things and utterly ridiculous things. The conversation began fairly seriously as we had a long conversation actually about love and loss, particularly about grief and some of the troubles that friends of ours and troubles in life, but particularly one or two friends. But we had a long conversation about grief actually. But over time the conversation morphed and it descended actually into laughter and joy and fun and happiness as we shared stories about our lives and the folks that we've known in our lives and the folks that we know in our lives now, and shared some hilarious stories that I can't share here because I just can't. I'm sorry. It was a lovely hour of deep connection and joy and fun and all those things too. Now, interestingly, during the conversation, it's something that's come to mind recently. I'm not quite sure why, but I told my friend that in all my life, I have never, ever been able to scream. Never been able to scream. She found this hard to believe. And then she began to work it out and think about other things I'd told me. And as she said, I was born with this deep voice and I could hold a conversation as a child. I could talk before I could walk. And I don't just mean I could say the odd word. I could form sentences and engage in conversation with this adult voice. And they found this hilarious. And I found it hilarious actually as we tried to make sense of this phenomena, that my inability to scream. Maybe as a small baby, I'm sure I screamed, but certainly as in my own consciousness and awareness, I have never been able to scream. Tried, just can't get it out of my body. I'm much too alone with this, but not enough alone, I guess, to truly make sense of it. But actually, the inability to scream is a phenomena. Some people cannot scream. Some of those are because of damage or physical reasons. That's not the case with me at all. My vocal cords are in great shape, in great form, and I can sing falsetto if I need to from my baritone. So it's not that I can't physically do it. No, it must be purely psychological. There's something in me that does not allow my body to scream out, no matter how in fright or anything. I wonder if anybody else suffers from this, maybe. If you do, if you watch this video and you do, get back to me, tell me about it. Have you Can you scream? Have you never been able to scream in your life? I'm certainly unaware of ever, I'm conscious of no conscious memory of ever being able to scream. Not even close, actually. Strange. And we laughed about this and many of our other peculiarities, and then I wandered off. My friend is a writer. I am a minister. She's a very gifted writer, by the way. Has been all her life. But both of us are observers of life, and we create from what we see and what we experience, or at least part of my work is that, not this, for example. We make meaning from what we observe, I guess. We are also people who spend quite a large amount of time alone, and yet other time we have periods where we're with others. But the difference between us is that I spend far more time engaging and listening to others than my friend does. Her work is far more solitary in total than mine. It's a requirement of my work, of course. I spend a lot of time listening to others. Not speaking, actually, purely listening. Anyhow, we carried on for a bit, and then I left my friend, and I left her with some good news that I think she might appreciate. I told her that every single episode of that classic 80s Channel 4 British comedy series, The Comic Strip Presents, every single episode is now available on Netflix. So if you get bored, or I get bored, or she gets bored, give it a watch. It's definitely worth it, I'm sure. Anyway, it was a very busy day last Tuesday, and as I headed home, I was thinking I need to be still. I need to let all that has come and entered and experienced that day to sink into my being. I had listened an awful lot that day, and I'd shared some things from my own heart and soul. And I also shared some things that were utterly ridiculous, as you've heard. But I needed to be home. I needed to be alone. I needed to spend time in quiet, in silence, in stillness. I needed time for quiet reflection. I needed to let my soul sink into my body, my soul to catch up with my body. These last few months have revealed aspects of my being, of myself. Well, maybe nothing new, I don't know. Some things I've seen more deeply or understood more. Some I like, and some I struggle with. I wish they weren't, but you can't separate yourself. You are who you are. You have to live an undivided life. You can't live a divided life. A lot of it brought on by grief. There's been a lot of grief around me and within me these last few months, this last year actually. And grief will do that to a person. So as I settled down that evening, I read a poem actually, which helped me kind of get into a space of silence. It's a poem by Rilke. I am much too alone in this world, yet not alone enough, by Rainer Maria Rilke. I am much too alone in this world, yet not alone enough to truly consecrate the hour. I am much too small in this world, yet not small enough to be you just object, to be to you just object and thing, dark and smart. I want my free will, and I want it accompanying the path which leads to action, and want during times that beg questions where something is up to be among those in the know, or else be alone. I want to mirror your image to its fullest perception, never be blind or too old to uphold your weighty, wavering reflection. I want to unfold. Know where I wish to stay crooked, bent, for there I would be dishonest, untrue. I want my conscience to be true before you. Want to describe myself like a picture I observed for a long time, one close up, like a new word I learned and embraced, like the everyday jug, like my mother's face, like a ship that carried me along through the deadliest storm. I love being with people, but I'm also aware how much I need time alone to truly consecrate the hour. Like many people in my profession, many ministers of religion, I guess, I am an introvert actually, which may not appear that way, but I'm an introvert in the Jungian understanding of the introvert extrovert kind of spectrum. I'm an introvert because I'm the kind of person who re-energizes from spending time in solitude. I tend to give my energy when I am in the company of others, and I tend to recharge when in solitude. I need to be alone with my God to truly feel alive in this life. And it humbles me in the true meaning of the word humility. It reminds me that I am a part of the ground of the earth. It's important to remember that linguistically speaking, the words humanity, humility, and humus, meaning the earth, share the very same linguistic root. So I do need to be humble. I need to be grounded. I need to recognize my finite nature. It is vital to my human being. And I need to be alone to do that, to let my feet touch the ground, to let my roots form into the soil, to let my soul catch up with my body. I need to be embodied. And I need time alone to do that. Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson put it more beautifully than me in the following that he wrote whilst reflecting on the wonder of being in the woods. He wrote, "Standing on the bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air and uplifted by infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am part or particle of God." There is such a beautiful paradox here. I am nothing. I see all. And I really love the last part. I am part or particle of God. And I was thinking about these words in my quiet time. This is the way I get stimulated all the time, and then things come to me, you see, in my quiet time as I reflect on my day of an evening. And I thought of the words on a meme I'd seen on social media. I don't know when it was, maybe a long time ago actually. It just came into my mind. And it goes by the title Serbian Proverb. And the meme read, "Be humble, for you are made of earth. Be noble, for you are made of stars." So these words and that evening, sitting, reflecting on my day, they certainly humbled me. And I live in hope that they will ennoble me too. I know how important it is that I believe this, and I do. Even when I don't, I still do. These two qualities are vital to a fulfilling life. They are not opposing dualities. They are complementary qualities. Be humble, for you are made of earth. Be noble, for you are made of stars. Beautiful, don't you think? But I need to be still and quiet for that to happen. And it's emptiness, stillness, quietness that reveals the greatest paradox of all, I think, of life. For it's often in this emptiness that we truly understand how important everything is. It is emptiness that reveals the fullness of life. And it doesn't sound right, does it? But it's true. As I have to empty myself to feel alive in this life. Because as I constantly remember, everything matters. Every thought, every feeling, every word, every deed, for everything is a part of everything else. And the mistake is to fall into the despair of emptiness, you see. Although perhaps we all have to go through that from time to time. I've been there, to nothingness and despair. And yet hope is born in despair, is it not? Linguistically at least. J'espère, désespoir, and of course, respect, a new fresh hope. You see, sometimes we can have a kind of superficial understanding of emptiness. For if we see life as nothing, as some kind of dream, we dismiss life, and then nothing really matters or exists in life. And to dismiss life is a dangerous thing. To say that nothing matters, that kind of nihilistic view, to not care, is a dangerous place to end up for anybody. We can dismiss any real suffering of others and ourselves. We can allow any horror if we don't care. And there's nothing humble or ennobling in not caring, in despair, in staying in despair, in nihilistic rejection of life. There is nothing humble or ennobling in that, because we are failing to recognise what we are and what this life is. To me, the very point of emptying and going within is to enable me to truly connect both with the joys and the sorrows of life. It's in its difficulties, in life's successes, in a very real way. And as a result of that, I can then act in noble ways. But it's the very stillness that will hold me when the storms come, as they have done recently. And I can feel and witness and bear witness to life and be there and not turn away and live in love in a noble way in this world. So Rilke is right. I am much too alone in this world, yet not alone enough. You see, wisdom tells me I am nothing. Love tells me I am everything. Between the two, my life flows. That was the words of the 20th century Hindu guru Nisargadatta Maharaj, who taught about non-dualism. And Carl Sagan, that great man of science, wonderful human being, once wrote, "For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love." So we have to care, we have to connect. And for me to connect to life, I need to be still and silent at times. Otherwise, I will not connect. For me, in the silence, in that emptiness, I find the love that connects me to all that is in a truly loving sense. In the emptiness, my cup once again begins to run further, actually. In so doing, I can once again know the fullness of life and live in such a way that is indeed ennobling. And this is something that both my neighbour and myself understand, and something that we talked about in the street just the other day. What a delightful conversation. And then we laughed. By deepening in silence, we discover that the apparent emptiness holds no real fear. Instead, it leads us to a true beauty and a joy for living, to sing the joy of living. It leads us to the joy of living. In that space, we can discover that we are a part or particle of God. In doing so, we rest in the infinite space that is life and begin to live in both accord and in harmony. The silence brings peace, wholeness, it brings well-being. It humbles us, or it humbles me, for it allows me to see that I am made of the earth, but it also ennobles me, for it allows me to see that I am made of the stars. I hope you can see that too. I hope you can. So, as I got home that evening and I spent time in silence reflecting on all that had been that day, I began to smile to myself and the people that I'd met and the people I'd spoke with that day. I remembered the laughter and the connection we had shared in deep seriousness at times. How this human aspect is so vital to life. Now, I've heard it said that humour is also linguistically linked to humility and humanity. I've heard it said by some really smart guys, actually, people. But it isn't. It really isn't. It sounds like it should be, doesn't it? But it's not true. It's a completely different root, actually. Humour has a completely different etymology, which actually sounds ridiculous, which it should do, shouldn't it, humour? You see, to be in good humour actually meant to be in good health. The humeurs, these liquids, these strange coloured liquids, I think there's 4 of them, that the 4 liquids that the medieval people believed moved through our bodies, if these were in balance, we were in good humour or good humour, we were in good health. Now, of course, people don't think that way now, but the word has, as words do, has kind of developed through time to mean that to be in good humour, laughter, had nothing to do with laughter originally. Now, isn't that hilarious? Doesn't it sound funny? Well, we can laugh at those folk from 1,000 years ago. We can laugh at folk from 100 years ago for the ridiculous things they believed. And no doubt, when people look back at us and they write down our history, they'll probably think that some of the things we believed and talked about, they'll probably think I'm ridiculous. They'll probably think the shirt is, if no else. They'll probably think the things that we believe today are utterly ridiculous. But we don't like to think that way, do we? Because human beings lack humility in that sense. They think they're gods or geniuses, when that's hubris, which is probably the deadliest thing a human being can ever engage in. So we have to laugh at ourselves, and no doubt they'll be laughing at us down the roads of history for our ridiculousness. But I love the fact that humour comes from the humors of the body that meant we were in good health, for laughter is the greatest medicine. It's medication. It's meditation. It's both, actually. It's both medication and meditation. Isn't that wonderful? God's own medicine. I need time with people to listen and connect. And I need time alone. I need time for tears, often alone. And I also need joy and laughter. Alone, but usually with others. I need others for that. You do, don't you? You can't tickle yourself. Well, I can't tickle myself. If I want to be tickled, I need someone to tickle me. Try tickling yourself. Most of us can't. I'm sure there are some possibly can, a bit like those of us that can't scream. How ridiculous is that, by the way? These feelings bring me into deeper relationship with life and with God. And it's something I know I'm not alone with, not at all. I'm coming close to the end now, and I want to share some wisdom by John O'Donoghue, that wonderful, wonderful human being. Sadly died too young. And it's about laughter. And I can't even remember when I found this, but it's one of my favourite pieces. I think it's a transcript from something he said once. I don't think it's in a book, but so I can't tell you where to find it. But I'm glad I found it and saved it and kept it, because I've looked for it since and still can't find it. But here's some wisdom from John O'Donoghue. I think that laughter is one of the really vital dimensions of the divine presence that has been totally neglected. I often feel when the Divine One beholds us obsessed in our intricate maze of anxiety and planning and intentionality, that she can't stop laughing. It's great for people actually to laugh too. I love a sense of humour in a person. It's one of my favourite things, because I think when somebody laughs, they break out of every system that they're in. There's something really subversive in laughter and in the smile on the human face. It's lovely and infectious to be in the company of someone who can smile deeply. I think a smile comes from the soul. I also love its transitive kind of nature, that if you're in the presence of someone who has a happiness and a laughter about them, it'll affect you. It'll call that out in you as well. Your body relaxes completely when you're having fun. I think one of the things that religion has often prevented us from doing is having really great fun. To be here in a way, despite the sadness and difficulty and awkwardness of individual identity, is to be permanently invited to the festival of great laughter. So come and join in. Come on in, the water's fine. We humans are complicated and paradoxical creatures, balls of contradiction, balls of confusion. I know that I am. The best people are. And just like the weather over the past few days, we can experience 4 seasons in just one day, all the emotions of humanity, all 4 humeurs maybe flowing through our body, out of whack and back into balance. Just like the weather, our moods and experiences constantly change. This is why it is so vital to remember. Be humble. You are made of earth. Be noble. You are made of stars. How they shine for you. None of us knows what the coming seasons will bring. There will be tears, but not always tears of sorrow. There will be joy. There will be laughter too. If we can just stay open-hearted and refuse never to shrink back into those shells of self-protection. Let's not be afraid of our tears, for there are tears of laughter too. Let's enjoy every season, for none of us know how many seasons we have left. And let us not forget, in the words of Conrad Hayes, the first and last word belonged to God, and therefore not to death, but to life, not to sorrow, but to joy, not to weeping, but to laughter. For surely it is God who has the last laugh. Me, I'm going to go off and liberate some ice cubes. Amen. So I'm going to end with some final words, some gentle words of blessing. God, we need to bless more. We can all bless. And we bless by giving ourselves wholeheartedly to life. So as we return to our lives, let us do so in the spirit of light, in the spirit of love. Let this be a new beginning. Let we be a new beginning. May the spirit of love open us up to a deeper understanding and those deeper connections. May it begin with joy, in simple human kindness. Let's just be with one another. May it begin with our love for ourselves, for one another, our love for life, and our love for God. And may we carry this love with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Amen.